What's going on, guys? It's Waithe here, and in today's video I am celebrating 3 years of sobriety. Now, it's been a long hard road. It's January 2025, and I first thought about quitting alcohol in 2019, and I decided that in 2020 I would abstain from drinking alcohol. I thought over the next decade I could try and go the sobriety route. Now, I didn't know if a year would work, but it ended up being 3 years so far, and it has changed my life significantly. Now, of course, when you're thinking of quitting alcohol, you might think of AA courses, you might think of, being sponsored during dry January. You could also have lots of help and support, but I decided to go cold turkey in 2020. And it was actually at the start of COVID where I was determined to sort of handle that whole thing without having alcohol, because prior to that, I've already had loads of stressful scenarios where I dealt with them with drinking alcohol. So I realized that if I was to go through this sort of event whilst drinking, it would just wreck me. And I used it as a time where I could hone in and take, the advantage of not being able to go anywhere and really focus on trying to be sober that entire year. Now, I learned so much about myself that it's sort of like jumping back to when you're a kid and you figure out what you like doing during times of boredom, because it's all about reframing boredom during sobriety. Because obviously most people's questions relate to, well, what do you do when you quit alcohol? How do you still have fun? How do you fill your time? How do you socialize? All of these questions pop up when you're thinking of quitting alcohol, and these are all valid. And it literally was a case of me remembering what I like to do before I used to drink, and drinking just takes up so much time. What I found is when I quit alcohol, I just had so much time again, and time is my greatest asset these days. It's freed me up to, write a book. I've been able to focus on my health. I've been able to focus on projects and passions. I've been able to, I'm in a relationship, and we're coming up to 4 years this year, and loads of things have happened that have just changed my life, and I all account it to me quitting alcohol. Now, if people are looking for a secret or a hack on how to improve their life, it literally is not drinking alcohol. Now, some people have been saying over on my community support page, which is called One Less Pint on TikTok, we're about to hit 5,000 followers, I think. So one of the main things that people say over there is that, some people like to moderate, some people like to abstain. But I've had lots of comments where people are like, you should be able to try and moderate your drinking instead of just abstaining, instead of just quitting. And I'm a true believer in, if you want to really change your life, you're going to have to let things go. And whether that's places, friends, ex relationships, toxic friendships, toxic workplaces, environments, you've got to let things go to grow. Now, if you don't do that, you're going to have a really hard time getting the full benefits of change. Now, what I ended up doing is, it's sort of like, during the changes of the seasons, the leaves fall off the trees. And that's exactly what happened, is as I changed and as my environment changed, the things that weren't meant for me naturally just dropped away. Now, some people see this as scary, some people see this as a scary change. It's quite intimidating when you don't have control of your life anymore, because drinking is sort of predictable. You sort of know what's going to happen, but then you end up in a life that is completely different to what you expected. And now, you look after peace over chaos. You thrive in silence rather than noise. You'd rather be in solitude than surrounded by a crowd. So your life flips in a different way. And it does take a long time. Now, if you're trying to quit alcohol, if you're trying to join in this journey in dry January, just know that it does take some time. Of course, dry January is just a month, and that's a great way of sort of getting into it, getting into the new changes of things. But it really does take over a year to sort of feel the benefits, because once you complete a year, something switches in your brain and you're like, oh, I can do this. I can handle year after year without drinking alcohol, because you have all of the events, you have summers, you have winters, you have birthdays, you have, weddings, you have maybe funerals, you have Christmas, you have all of these events that alcohol really does sit by us side by side, And when you don't have alcohol by your side, you're facing these things face on, you're not running away or escaping. You're not changing or altering your brain. You're not, suppressing or, you're not being someone else. And I know a lot of people say, well, some people don't escape they don't use alcohol to escape, but you are essentially escaping who you actually are, because you're altering your brain states. No matter what substance you use, you're changing and altering your brain. And what sobriety does is it really strips you back raw. And that's the one thing that I've learned. It's more trippy being sober than it is not. When you're consumed with alcohol and you're consumed with addictions, whether that's social media posting, whether that's seeking external validation, whether that's, going out all the time or finding pleasure through multiple partners, there's so many different addictions. It's not just one. But once you strip back alcohol, you realize, wow, we are really creatures of external. And it might sound really obvious, but we really live in the external world too much, and our internal worlds are struggling. That's why there's such a change in the way people think, in the way people drink. Not many people want to go clubbing anymore. They don't feel safe on nights out. Drink spikings are rising. There's just so much strangeness around alcohol that when we were younger, it's not the same sort of dynamic. And I think we're just looking after ourselves more, with the rise of people actually understanding and accepting mental health conditions. We're actually understanding ourselves more. And we realize, well, why have we just been living unconsciously, allowing other things to determine our future, when we can actually control our lives based off what we do in our present moment? So after the first 30 days, I had this sort of voice within me saying, you have to continue. And although I had temptation there, although I had things that, there might have been some event going on where I'd be like, oh, it would have been nice to have that drink. I tell myself that I don't need it anymore. And that's the number one thing that's changed my life, is my internal narrative is on my side. Whereas before, I'd literally go against myself and give myself excuses as to why I would drink, as to why I would feel like, I deserve to drink alcohol and feel hungover. Now, the number one benefit of not drinking alcohol is literally not feeling hungover. The days that you would normally just waste away on your sofa and your couch are no longer there. You can do that after a good day, but it's no longer your main objective. I used to have sole purpose of days of just trying to recover myself. And the older I got, the longer it would take to recover from drinking. And I realized it really hindered my potential. It wasn't really going well. I was trying to look after myself more than I should have. You should naturally feel okay to tackle the weeks and days and months. Whereas when I was drinking, I was riddled with anxiety, financial anxiety, mental anxiety. There is just so much stress that is involved from regret and shame that's associated with alcohol. Now, of course, when you're first indulging in alcohol, when you're 18 and you're just going out and everything's new and fresh, of course it feels good. It feels nice. It feels free. You feel confident. You no longer have overthinking thoughts. You can socialize. You can talk about your life, your stories, what you want to say. You can speak to those people, your crush, your love. It opens up a big world. And I'm so thankful for the past versions of myself, because they got me to where I am today. And without those chaotic days, I wouldn't appreciate the peace that I have now. And I honestly recommend it. Just 30 days, try it first and just see how much it improves your life. Now, I don't want to be someone that's, sort of changed their life and then is preaching it too much, but this is something that's too good not to miss. And I feel like the longer that people don't do it, the longer they won't fulfill their true potential. And I always say, you turn into the person you were always meant to be, not the person you want to be. It's the person you were always meant to be. Because there's a lot of ego around drinking a lot of alcohol. And I did it on this channel for years. I was anxious. I was nervous. I had a huge audience watching me every week. I had people stopping me on the streets. This is at the early days of YouTube, when it was different. Not everyone was famous on TikTok. And the way I solved most of my problems was having a pint, have a drink. And then it ended up having a vodka, and then just drinking so much that I realized that I could create this sort of second alter ego personality that felt invincible. And you don't actually know what you're in until you stop it. Now, if you haven't ever stopped drinking alcohol, of course, you're going to look at me like, wow, he's crazy. he's lost the plot. Why would you not drink alcohol? But if you actually abstain and see the results, it's just too good not to do it. And I've got control of my life now. I don't search for validation in the places I used to. I feel more secure in myself. I feel happier. I feel more calm. I feel more centered. I have more clarity. My thoughts give me solutions rather than focus on the negatives. And it's ultimately just changed my life. And I will keep saying that because it really has. And I think if those of you who have seen my journey, you'll see how much I've changed. And those who are just watching my journey, it's a beautiful way to live. It's just a very abundant way to live. And you start leveling up. Like, I have a business with my partner. We film weddings, and I used to be so scared of weddings because obviously if you're not drinking, weddings are the number one place where alcohol is. You know, there's normally an open bar, there's normally drinks on the table during lunch, before, you know, it's just a boozy day. And I've filmed over 30 plus weddings being sober, and it's just changed my life because you realize socializing when you're sober is actually easier than when you're drunk. And you say less embarrassing things. You know, you're true to yourself. You don't end up waffling too much. Although here I am waffling right now. But it's just a very, very good change. And if you're looking at trying to quit drinking alcohol, start with the small steps. You know, every day is a victory if you're not drinking alcohol. Now, if you would drink after a long day, have a herbal tea. You know, if you've had a work day and you're stressed, have a herbal tea. There's lots of, you know, calming teas. Chamomile's a great tea. There are just alternatives to what we used to. And we are creatures of habit and patterns. And we like to live in the familiar comfort. So we know what happens when we drink. And, you know, if you drink tonight, you're going to be hungover. You know how to look after yourself. And you might be addicted to just looking after yourself. And you've got to realize you actually might like hangovers as much as you say you don't, because it gives you an excuse to not have any responsibilities. It gives you an excuse not to go out and socialize. It gives you an excuse to binge watch your favorite show. And it gives you an excuse to eat all you want to eat. And that's fair play. But, you know, in our comfort zone, we can't grow and we can't achieve our dreams. Now, if you don't have any dreams and you just want to be in the comfort zone, that is fair play. No one's forcing you to change. But if you step out of your comfort zone, you'll realize how much more there is out in the world. When you stop focusing on just the pubs and the clubs and the beers and all that comes with that, there is so much to focus on. Your world literally opens up. When you go on holiday, you'll focus on, you know, exploring and sightseeing and have more time to enjoy and relax and feel, you know, better than you did when you arrived. Whereas most times you spend all this money to go on holiday to drink the same amount you would when you're at home, if not more. And it's a loop. It's literally a loop. Now, some people associate psychosis with smoking too much or drinking too much and your mental health goes in a decline. But I see that when people are in a loop of drinking and a loop of saying the same things, whinging about the same hangovers, you know, crying about the same problems, I see that as a form of psychosis where it's literally becomes an illness because you're addicted to pain, you're addicted to the struggle, you're addicted to getting in your own way. Now, if you actually realize that you're causing most of your own issues, you don't then point fingers at the government. You don't then point issues, you know, you don't point fingers at your job. And you don't associate all these issues with things that are external because you realize, well, actually, my internal, I have free will. I can choose what I get to do. I can choose whether to drink or to take those shots or to have those bottles of wine. And you realize you're actually in more control than you were when you were sort of drinking too much. Because when you're drinking, you're not in control. You're actually out of control. And, you know, everything goes to the drains. And also you save so much more money when you're sober as well, because your relationship with money changes. It's not that you're, you know, not spending money on things, because I do spend lots of money on things, but it's more about the fact that you end up spending money on things that last, and you actually want things to last more now because you know you're going to have more time to be able to do the things. So if you're saving for a holiday, you can save more money because you've actually got more time and you want to savor the experience. And there's a lot of delayed gratification that comes with sobriety because you don't end up wanting the things tonight. You have to not drink for, say, months on end, and then suddenly summer's arrived after 6 months, and then you're going on that holiday. Whereas the whole time that you'd normally wait for that, you're drinking and trying to get the dopamine and serotonin from alcohol and going out. than you would naturally getting that big burst of serotonin because you've actually not drank for months, and then you go on holiday and you're sober and you realize how good it feels to just, have some resilience. Now you can take it from me, I've got a sobriety page called One Less Pint over on TikTok, like I mentioned before, and the community on there is just so amazing. There are thousands of people, and I mean thousands of people, that this year in 2025 had decided to go sober, and I've been helping them with some of my advice. I mean, 3 years sobriety, I've learned a lot, and it's just about being real, man. It's not easy. It's not a false trick. It's very hard. You have to integrate your shadow. You have to think about your limitations, your insecurities, the things you did in the past. What you don't like, what you do like. It's like being reborn, and a lot of people have said this. It's like a rebirth, and it's scary. Being born again is scary, especially when you're an adult. I've had my anxieties. I've had panic attacks. I've literally not known where I'm going, but then now I'm here, and I'm literally so happy that I made that choice, because I feel stronger, more resilient, and more capable to handle what's in front of me. Whereas before, I did not picture a future. I couldn't see past a glass, And again, if you're trying to quit this month, just start each day changing one thing after another. And it doesn't have to be dramatic changes, just drink more water, maybe have some of your favorite juices, get it back into Sprite. I know it's sugar, but just see yourself as a kid again and look after yourself and build yourself up past that adult line again. It's like a rebirth, everything comes full cycle. Where we thought we were adults because we drank alcohol and made adult choices, we actually weren't, because we were just using substances to feel like an adult. Whereas we actually stopped growing at the point we started drinking. So once you stop drinking, you actually have to start growing again. So you feel like a kid again. You might scream, shout, and feel angry, and all these tantrums come out of you. And then you have to learn how to self-soothe yourself without needing anything external. So you start talking to yourself nicer. You start saying, I can do this slowly, one day at a time. I am strong. I am able. I am capable. I forgive myself. I can do this. I can accomplish this. And then once you do those things for long enough, it becomes a pattern. It becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, it becomes a lifestyle. And it's just part of your software. It's part of your hardware. Now, of course, this is a life-changing experience. It's something that's very hard, and especially if you have friends around you and family members that still consume alcohol. They're going to look at you like a stranger, like an alien. And that's part of it. You've got to learn to make choices that are different from the others, because if you keep following the herd, you're going to end up as far as they ever go, which is normally a pub at the end of the night. And if you are okay with that, then do it. But it's so easy to follow the crowd. If you're following the crowd, you're going to get the same results as they have only achieved. It's not that they're not happy and they don't have families, they don't have houses, they don't have jobs and things going for them. It's more that when you don't drink, you can help people more. And it's not just about you when you stop drinking, it's about others. Your family will be grateful that you can show up. If there are emergencies, or you need to just see them or look after someone or just chill, they'll really appreciate how you were there, present in the moment. Whereas before, you'd be drinking and like causing a nightmare, or you're just thinking you're having a good time, but you're not. And if you're still in it and you still like it, then don't change it. It's not about those who don't want to change. It's more about those who want to change. Alcohol ruins thousands of lives. Loads of people die each year from the consumption of alcohol. And it's not that it's a killer of fun, it's a killer of life. It's not about having more fun, it's about having more life. If you don't care about your life, you're not going to care about what you're putting in it, whether that's food, whether that's smoking, whether that's drinking, whether that's not sleeping. You don't care. And if you do care, then you'll want to make the changes to change your life, and others will be so grateful. It's inspiring. Your resilience is inspiring. And I know that people watching this have been through enough. You've been through enough hurt, you've been through enough chaos, you've been through enough struggle, that it's time for change. And if you're ready for change, all it takes is to not drink tonight. All it takes is to not drink. And you will have a series of fortunate events that will change your life. They will significantly change your life. And I promise you that. You can come back to this video in a week, in a month, in a year, in 10 years' time. And I promise you, you will be different. You will be changed. You will feel good. And it gives me goosebumps when I say this because it changes your life. Listen to these words and take them seriously, because I know life is all about the fun, the fast. But slow down and realize that it isn't going to be this fun forever. And be the example that you want to see. Be the change you want to see. If your world out there is miserable, just slowly stop adding to that misery. And I believe in you. I honestly, you watching this now, I believe in you, because the reason you're literally here watching this, the reason you're listening to this, is because you're ready. And I can feel it. This year is your year. 2025 is the year that you become sober, and I will be here the whole way through it. Now, take me as an example. 3 years sobriety, and I feel great. Everything has improved. My life has changed. My relationships have changed, and I feel good. And if that's what you want to feel, just start today. And you can follow my page, One Less Pint, on TikTok, where we have a huge community of people on similar paths. And you can literally just get involved, ask questions, ask for help, and it will honestly change your life. I promise you that. And I'm just so grateful that everyone is here to watch this. And if you were still watching this, you are here for a change in your life. And I'm proud of you. So if you're ready for a change, start today, and I will be alongside you. And make sure to click subscribe and like this video if you want to see more content, because this year I'm going to help lots of people on this channel. I'm going to turn it into a positive, safe space so people can tune in and get more information on how they can change their lives like I have changed mine. Anyways, I will see you in my next videos, and I hope you have a great 2025. Peace out.